Hey everyone, this is Pastor David. I wanted to share just a quick introduction to the book of Judges. We started with the book of Judges, and we're beginning the series Heroes Among Us. And Heroes Among Us is all about how God will lift up in the midst of oppression, in the midst of trials and tribulations. God will lift up individuals to provide an opportunity for deliverance. And he's done that throughout the history of Israel. He's done it throughout from Genesis to Revelation. And we believe that God has positioned you and I to be those heroes of deliverance. And he is preparing us for a very, very special time. I want to start with Judges chapter 3, verse 4. And I want to speak on the theme put to the test, or obey or betray. This is what sets up the presentation of the 12 judges of Israel. So before they begin with the first judge, Othniel, they present in Judges chapter 3, verse 4, the reason why God allowed the Canaanites to dwell alongside the children of Israel even after Joshua conquered the promised land. It says here, and they were left in Judges chapter 3, verse 4, and they were left that he might test Israel by them, to know whether they would obey the commandments of the Lord, for which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. So there was a specific reason why God didn't completely drive out the inhabitants of Canaan. It was so that they would be tested. Could they remain faithful? Could they remain faithful to the law and not covet the other gods? Would they be able to not covet all of the pagan practices, the idolatry, the fornication, and all the things that come with that type of culture? They did not. The children of Israel constantly fell. They gave in to the temptations. They were not able to resist. And as a result, they fell into bondage. And it was at that point when they felt the pressure and the weight of that bondage that they would then cry out to God for deliverance, and God would lift up the judges. And this cycle continued to happen. God would lift up a judge, and they would for a season be faithful, but then they would covet again the gods of Canaan, the religious practices of Canaan, the paganism and the fornication and all that. And God would give them up again to oppression, and the cycle continued. They would get oppressed, they would get delivered. They would live faithfully, then they would covet, they would fall, they would get oppressed, and then they were delivered. So this is why God allowed that to happen, because he needed to test their faith. And so it is with us. We ourselves live in the promised land. We live in the promise of salvation, but in our midst are remnants, are people, are pockets of people that do not love God, that they don't serve God, they don't acknowledge him. And God is going to test our faith. Are we going to covet sin? Are we going to worship other gods? Are we going to go in and break his law and be consumed by the lawlessness that exists around us? Or are we going to remain faithful? That's why he allowed the Canaanites to live alongside of the children of Israel. So the question I put back to you, are you going to obey or betray? Are you going to remain faithful in your life in the midst of paganism, in the midst of anarchy and godlessness? Can you be the light? Because remember, God also wants to use you to be a hero. Because there's going to come a time when the people around you, they give their lives to sin, and the wages of sin is death. There's only one road that sin leads to, and it's called rock bottom. And when they hit rock bottom, that's when they will cry out to the Lord for deliverance. And God will need to lift up people to take the world out of that oppression and show the light of Christ. Will that be you? Will you say, Lord, use me? Use me as you use the judges. Use me to set the people free. Anoint me, just as the Lord said, Jesus, the Lord has anointed me to set the captives free. Would you say that today? Hallelujah. And would you be ready to pass the test and live holy? Let's get ready. Judges, it's going to be an exciting study. We hope that you were blessed. Remember Judges chapter 3, verse 4, and they were left that he might test Israel by them to know whether they would obey the commandments of the Lord, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. Hey, this is Pastor David. I hope you enjoyed today's study. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you want to get notified whenever we do release our latest studies. And if you'd like to join us and download our free Bible reading plans, you can do so at redchurchlehighvalley.org and join us. God bless you.